Okay, so we should be going live in just a few seconds. So I'm going to check over at the YouTube page and refresh this. So if you don't know, I have a YouTube channel over at youtube.com at the Shy Hat, and we've got a bunch of cybersecurity stuff as well as the previous sessions for all of our Packer Frogs After School sessions over here. And if you ever wanted to look at it, you could take a look at it at the link that I'm provided in the chat. But if you want to check out the live stream, then you can check it out over here. All right. So let's get started today. As usual, if you want to change your name inside the Zoom call, so just in case I accidentally say your name instead of your initials, I usually try to say people's initials just to keep everything anonymous. You want to keep anonymous on the internet as much as you can. But you can rename yourselves inside the Zoom call just to let you know. Okay, so let's go over to our presentation. Okay, so this is Hacker Frogs After School Python Programming Basics, Part 2. So this is the second session for Intro Python Programming. In the previous session, we learned about the following Python concepts. We wrote the Hello World program in Python, which is the first program students write for any programming language. And we learned about the print function, which prints information to the console and is common to almost all programs written in Python. We learned about programming variables, which are named storage locations which hold specific values, which can be referenced multiple times in a program. We learned about data types, which includes strings, which are non-numeric text, integers, whole numbers, and floats, numbers which include decimal places. So in this workshop, we're going to be working on two different topics today. The first topic is going to be lists inside of Python, and the second topic is going to be arithmetic operations. So let's get started. So part 1, lists. Lists are part of what Python categorizes as collections, that is, variables that hold one or more values, which can be strings, numbers, or a mixture of different data types. An example list in Python could look like the following. So we've got vegetables, and this is a list over here. It's got 3 items. And there's another list over here called related to pie, and we've got a string and a float and another string. So as we can see by the examples, a list is defined as a number of objects separated by commas between a pair of square brackets. So we see here, so we've got our square brackets over here. That means that everything that's inside of here is a list. And these are list objects inside. So the objects in the list are separated by these commas over here, and we can tell what kind of information is in here by looking at the type of object. So we've got these double quotes over here, which means that these are strings. If they don't have quotes and they're numbers, then they're either floats or integers. Okay. So let's practice making a list inside of Python, okay? So once again, we're going to use the onlinepython.com website over here. And remember that when you first load up the website, there's going to be a bunch of code there already. So what you need to do is you need to highlight all the code that is already on the page, and then you need to delete it. So after that, we can start making our own code. So we're gonna make our vegetables list. Vegetables. And this is going to be equal to a list, and to make the list we have to create our square brackets here. So we're going to do 3 strings inside of this list. So we're going to do double quotes, and then a comma, and then double quotes, and a comma, and then double quotes. So we know that these are 3 strings. Right now these are empty strings, but we're going to put some some information in here. So vegetables, we could do any three vegetables will do. We could do carrots, and we could do peas, and we could do, what's another vegetable? A tomato. Okay. All right, so we've got three objects in here in this list, and they're all strings. We can actually print these out using the print function, and then we print out the name of the list. So this is the vegetables list. We just need to print, and inside the parentheses, vegetables. Okay, after this is done, we're going to hit run, and it's going to print out the list with the three objects over here. So this is going to look exactly like it does over here, only it's going to, for some reason, it's going to turn these double quotes into single quotes, but it looks just like this. User C says that tomatoes are fruits actually. Well, thank you very much for that information. Tomatoes are technically fruits, but when you do cooking, you treat it like a vegetable. So sometimes people like to call tomatoes vegetables. There are all sorts of fun little facts like that. Did you know that bananas are actually berries? They're actually berries. Who knew? But all right. So everybody, if you manage to print out your list by doing print and then the name of your list, and you got this kind of output here, please type in the chat, I printed the list, smiley face. Literally, sorry, user LL says, no way. Well, it's true, it's true. Bananas are technically berries, but we don't, people don't actually think too much about that. And coconuts aren't nuts. They're actually, what are they? Coconuts, I think coconuts are a seed, or they're a fruit. Are coconuts a fruit? They're not nuts, anyways. But LL says that they printed the list. Great, great, nice to see. Okay, so let's. So now that we've created a list, let's talk a little bit more about how we make lists. Okay, so over here. So items in lists occupy ordered positions within it, called indexes, with the first item in the index as the 0 position, the second item in the index 1 position, etc. So the items, we call these indexes. So this is index 1, this is index 0, index 1, and index 2. So it gets a bit complicated because you have to start counting from 0. All right, user C has also printed the list. Nice to see. Okay, so we can actually refer to the objects inside the list by their index. So if we do index at 0 by doing fruits and then inside these square brackets 0, then it's going to reference the apple object in here. And index number 1 is going to reference the orange object. So remember, this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2, because we're counting from 0 for some reason. Okay, so we can demonstrate this over in Online Python here. And for example, if we do print vegetables, and we reference the index, so we do index 0, that means it's only going to print out the first object in this list over here. And index 0 is carrots because we count from 0, 0, 1, 2. And if we click run, then it's only going to return carrots because the vegetables list index 0 is carrots. Okay? All right, so why don't you give it a go? So why don't you try printing out the third object? So if you want to print out the third object, which number should you put in here? If you want to print out the third object, is it the number 2 or the number 3? So LL says it's the number 2. That's correct because this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, but this is the third object, the first, second, third object, but it's index number 2. It's a bit confusing, but you have to get used to this. So let's try printing this out. And it says here that it is tomato. Maybe we should change tomato to potato so that they're all vegetables. Potato, just like that. All right. So let's go back. So this is called list indexing. When we refer to an object in a list by its index number, this is called list indexing. And list indexing allows for selection of specific items in a list by referencing them by the position where they appear in the list. To use list indexing, use the name of the list directly followed by a pair of square brackets, so just like this, with the index, rather the position of the desired item inside of those brackets. So 0, 1, and 2. So look at the Python code above. Inside the print function, the tree lists index 0 is referenced. Which list item will be the print output? So which one of these items is going to be printed out if we print trees 0? So user C says it will be pine. Okay, that is correct. Because we count from 0, 0, 1, 2, it's going to print out pine. All right, great. So the output should be pine. Since pine is the first item on the list, note that counting positions and indexing start from 0, not 1. In this example, trees 2 refers to cedar, since cedar is the number 2 item on the list if we count from 0. 0, 1, 2 is cedar. Okay, so an important thing we need to know about lists is that items in the list can actually change after they've been assigned. So working with lists, the value of items inside of lists can be changed after initial assignment. So inside this list here, we've got pine and elm and cedar. Then we print out trees 0, and it's going to print out pine. And then we reassign trees 0 to oak. So this is how we can change the individual objects inside of the list. And then when we print trees 0 index again, it's going to print out oak. So let's try this inside of Online Python. So there's some people who recently arrived. We're going to be working with this website right here, onlinepython.com. When you first arrive on the page, there's going to be some code already in here. Remember, we need to delete all the code first before we start typing our own code. So let's create the trees list in here, and it's going to be 3 trees. Okay, so the first one we're going to do elm tree, the second one we're going to do pine tree, and the third tree we're going to do oak tree. So these are some different trees, and then we're going to print trees at the index number 2. So everybody remember which one of these trees is index number 2. If you know, type it in chat. Okay, so LL says, and user C says that it is oak. That's true. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2. Okay, so we're going to print that, and then we're going to reassign one of the user PK says it is oak. Yes, that is correct. It's oak. So if we print this out, it's going to print out oak. So what we want to do is we want to reassign the number 2 index over here, and we can do it like this. So trees, and then 2, we're going to do it as something else. So we're going to reassign this, and we're going to reassign it to, oh, what is another type? Well, how about an unusual tree? How about a banana tree? So we're going to make trees 2, we're going to reassign it from oak to banana, and then we're going to print out the entire list. So to print out the entire list, we just need to include the name of the variable. And so we see there are two print instructions here. First, it's going to print out number 2, and at this point, number 2 is oak. And then we're going to reassign on line 3, and on line 4, we're going to print out the entire list. And we should see that oak has been replaced by banana. So let's give this a try. Okay, so this is what comes out, oak, and then the entire list like this. I want you to try typing in this code. If you're having troubles, let us know in the chat and we'll try to help you. But if you manage to get to create this code and then run it, and then you get oak and then elm, pine, banana, let us know in the chat by typing in I reassigned the trees. Smiley face. So if for some reason you're running your code and you get some sort of error, then let us know what the error is. So what error appeared in the window over here. It could be that that you forgot to put in a quote over here. So if you're missing any of these quotes, you might get an error. If you decided to put a space between the word trees and the square brackets over here, that could also cause an error. Tuple object does not support item assignment. Okay. So you have to use square brackets. So when you create your list, you have to use square brackets. I think what you did is you tried to make something else called a tuple, which is between the parentheses, and we're dealing with lists, and lists have to be created using the square brackets. So just make sure that you're using square brackets. The square bracket is located next to the P key on your keyboard. Just so you know. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so we're going to talk about data types and classes and objects. So every data type in Python, when we talk about data types and we talk about classes, we're talking about two words that mean the same thing. So we were talking about data types, we're talking about strings and integers and floats. In Python, each one of those data types is also called a class. Lists, strings, integers, etc. belong to a corresponding class, and each instance of a class is called an object. So the empty list is an object. Anything that you any string that you create is also considered an object inside of Python. So what do we mean by this? We mean that everything has to be very carefully categorized inside of Python so that it knows how to treat it. So every class has what are called methods, but what are methods? Methods are class-specific functions. For example, there are list methods, there are string methods, there are integer methods, etc. And methods perform actions on the object. So here we've got our vegetables. This is a list. It's carrots and lettuce and beets. Then we perform a method, which is vegetables, this object here. We're going to do append. This is a special method for lists. And inside of here, we're going to append radishes. And when we print the new vegetables list, we see that radishes has been added to the list because it was appended over here. So append is a special method for lists. So methods are performed by indicating the name of the object, which is the list, and then a dot, and then the name of the method, followed by a pair of parentheses which contain any arguments required for that method. So inside the parentheses in the append method, we include the object that we want to add to the list. So the list method we will learn in this workshop is the append method. So the append method will add an item to the end of the specified list. take the following code as an example. So we've got our friends, we've got Alex and we've got Barb, and then we do friends.append Carl. And then when we print the list, we should see that Carl has been added to the list. So let's try this out. So in our onlinepython.com website here, we're going to create some friends. And that's going to be a list, and we're going to include 3 friends. Actually, yeah, sure, let's do 3 friends. All right, so I'll let people in the meeting suggest some friend names, and then I'll put some friend names in here. So just type in any friend name, and I'll try to include it as a name in this friend list. Batman, okay, that's true. That's a great friend to have. So Batman is a friend, and Ethan, sure, Ethan is a friend, and who else is a friend? We need one more friend. So we also have Iron Man. So we have a bunch of we have superheroes in our friend list. Iron Man, is Iron Man, is there a space, or is it like this? I don't remember. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add an extra friend to the list. So to add a friend to the list, we have to use the append method. So we're going to provide the name of the list, friends, and then we're going to do a dot, and then we're going to include the name of the method we want to do. So the method is append, and between these parentheses and between these double quotes over here, we're going to include a new friend. So if you've gotten a suggestion for the new friend, please type it in chat, and we're going to add a new friend. Goku, okay, sure. So let's add Goku to our list of friends. We've got some pretty powerful friends. Okay, so when we print friends, we're going to see that it's not just these 3 friends. We'll see the 4th friend included here as well. So let's run this. So run this. We're going to see that we've got 4 friends here now. Great. Okay, so I want you to try this out yourself. So create yourself a list of friends, and then see if you can get this this dot append method to work. And when you print, you should see that you've got 4 friends because you appended one. So if you manage to successfully add a friend, please type in the chat, I added a friend. Smiley face. Okay, user PK said that they added a friend. Great to see. Okay. All right, so what we need to know is that when we want to do a method, we have to include the object we want to do the method with, and then the dot, and then the name of the method, and a couple of parentheses. So whatever the method is, it might or might not need some extra information to run the method. We need to include this information inside the parentheses over here. Okay, so user LL has also added a friend. Great to see. Great to see. Okay. So the next thing we're going to learn is how to delete items from lists. So we're going to do so with the del keyword over here. And deleting items from lists can be done in a couple of different ways. But if you know the list index of the item that you want to delete, you can use the del keyword. So for example, so this is kind of sad, we're losing friends, but if we've got our friends list, we've got Alex and Barb and Carl, and then we delete friends at index 0. So this is index 0, 1, 2. When we print our friends, we're going to see that only Bob, Barb, and Carl are here. So that is using the del keyword. So to delete an item, we use the del keyword and then the name of the list, and then a pair of square brackets and the index of the item to be deleted inside the brackets. So let's go back to our online Python and let's try this out. So this time, instead of friends, we're going to make another list. So let's make a list of favorite foods. So fav_foods. We need a few different foods here. So I'm going to do sushi, and I'm going to do pizza, and we need one more food. So if you've got a favorite food, type it in chat, and we'll add this as the third item for favorite foods. User C says they were probably a bad friend anyways. Well, there are many reasons we could remove friends from our lists, but well, let's not think about it too much. Okay, so we've got takoyaki, and let's add empanadas. Sure. So empanadas. Okay. So let's say we want to delete one thing from the list. Say we want to delete sushi from the list. We would do del and then fav_foods, and inside the square brackets here we have to include the index number. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So we have to. So if we wanted to delete sushi, we would delete at the 0 index here, and then when we printed our favorite foods, we would see that sushi is omitted from the list. Okay, so pizza, takoyaki, empanadas. All right, so let's we'll skip our practice. We're going to learn one more method for learning how to delete items, and then we'll try that out. Oh, I guess we're not going to learn about the other one. That's fine. Let's cover the next few exercises on the learnpython.org website. So we've got this website we like to use to learn about Python over here, and it's learnpython.org. So let's navigate over there. Learnpython.org, and we're looking at lists. So you can access this link. You can access this the link that I've provided in the chat. And one thing about this website is that it's kind of slow. I don't know how long it's going to take to load up for you. Let me try putting this in another tab over here. But this is kind of slow. It says not found. Oh, did I spell this incorrectly? Maybe I did. Let's just go to learnpython.org. Okay, learn Python over here. Okay, so let me grab that link, and everybody please go over to this link over here that I provided in the chat. If you see some ads over here, just close the ads, or if there's an X, then you can click on the X. But the reason I like using this website is because they've got a bunch of interactive Python windows over here that we can use. And so it says here that lists are very similar to arrays. Funnily enough, they don't teach what arrays are before they come to this section, but it's fine. So they can contain any type of variable, and they can contain as many variables as you wish. Lists can be iterated over in a very simple manner. Here's an example of how to build a list. So here we see that. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Bigger. Okay. So inside of this this Python window, programming window, we see that my list is equal to an empty list. So when you create a list, you don't necessarily need to necessarily need to put anything in the list. You can create what is called an empty list, and if you're making a string, you can also make an empty string. So what happens on lines 2, 3, and 4 is that they start adding to the list. So what they're adding here is just these numbers. So this is number 1, the number 2, and the number 3. And these are being added via the append method over here. So we just learned about the append method. This is going to add an object to the end of the list. So the number 1, 2, and 3 are all added to the list. And they also demonstrate printing out specific items in the list by index. So they're printing out index 0, and then index 1, and then index 2 at my list. So this is going to print out 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. And then at the bottom here, they've got a for loop. So we're going to learn about loops in next week. So next week we're going to learn about how to make loops inside of Python. But just keep in mind that all this loop is going to do over here is it's going to print out each one of the objects in the list. So we're going to do, it's going to print out 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. So when we click on the run button here, oh, no, this doesn't print, sorry. So remember that unless something says print, then print is not going to happen. So when it says here print X, it prints out 1 and then 2 and then 3. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the next section here, it says accessing an index which does not exist generates an exception, otherwise known as an error. So we've got my list, it's the numbers 1, 2, and 3. If we try to print out my list at index number 10 does not exist. So if we try to print out my list index number 10, it's going to generate an error. So it says line 2, print my list 10, index error, list index out of range. So this tells you exactly what the error is in this case. Oh, I made this window smaller. Okay. So this is the good thing about Python. Python will tell you exactly what line has the problem. So it says that line 2 has the problem. And it says index error, index list index out of range. That's the meaning of the error. So if you want to learn how to fix your Python code, what you could do is, hold on. You could copy this error message. So copy the whole thing and then go over to ChatGPT and you can ask it. So ChatGPT is a great assistant for learning programming languages. You can actually ask it, I got this error in Python. What is happening here? And then you can do the Shift Enter. So Shift Enter on your keyboard is going to give a soft new line, and it's not going to send the question. And then on the new line, you can just paste in your error message and then send this to ChatGPT. So it says the error you're indexing is an index error, which occurs when you try to access an element of a list using an index that is outside the valid range of indices for the list. So it also tells you how you could potentially fix the error over here, and it gives you a lot of information. So if you're trying to learn Python, and particularly if you're having problems with your Python code, you can always try asking your question to ChatGPT. It really helps if you provide the error messages that you're getting, and it'll usually try to help you understand what's going on. Okay, so let's go back. So we've got an exercise over here. You will need to add the numbers and strings to the correct lists using the append method. So you must add the numbers 1, 2, and 3 to the numbers list, and the words hello and world to the strings variable. Okay, so You will also have to fill in the variable second underscore name with the second name in the names list using the brackets operator here. So note that the index is 0 based, so if you want to access the second item in the list, its index will be 1. So we need to do 3 things here. So inside this exercise, we need to add 3 numbers to the numbers list here, which is empty. We need to add 2 strings to the strings list over here, which is empty. And then we need to assign the second name as the second object inside this names list over here. So everybody, what we're going to try to solve this exercise over here. Let's make this a little smaller. So one more time, we have to add the numbers 1, 2, and 3 to the numbers list here. We need to add the words hello and world to the strings variable, and we need to add the second name in the names list as second name over here. So I'll give you a hint as to how to start this exercise. So first you need to, so let's give a couple of lines over here. So on line 8 we're going to do numbers.append. And then numbers.append, we can add the number 1 over here. And we also need to add the numbers 2 and the numbers 3. So I'm going to leave it up to you to add the numbers 2 and number 3. You need to add all these numbers, 1, 2, and 3. And then after that, you need to do strings.append. And we need to add some strings. So we need to add hello, and we also need to add world to the strings variable. And then for the third task, we need to assign second name as some object in this list over here. So it's going to be from second name from none to names, and then we have to add in a number for the index over here. So I want you to go ahead and give it a couple minutes to try to write this out. If you have it all done and all correct, when you click on the submit button, it's going to give you a green banner and it's going to say good job or something like that. So go ahead and try this one. In a couple of minutes, I will explain how to do the exercise, but I want you to try finishing the exercise on your own first, okay? In the meantime, I will have a little drink of water. So go ahead and try to finish the exercise. If you manage to do it correctly, please type in the chat, I appended all the things. Smiley face. Okay, so let's explain how to solve the challenge. So the first thing we need to do is we need to append more things to numbers. We need to append the numbers 2, and we need to append the number 3. So the strings, we also need to append the word world on here. So we're going to do append and we're going to do world. And the last thing we need to do is we need to add the second index as the second name in here. So names, we want to add the second one, so that would be 0 and then 1. So we do names, and inside here it's the number 1. So after this is all done, you can just click on the submit button over here, and then it says great job. So we see here that 1, 2, 3 prints out, and then hello world prints out, and then the second name on the names list is Eric. This prints out. All right, so if you so go ahead and try finishing off the code and clicking on submit. If you do it correctly, then it's going to give you the green banner and it's going to say great job. But we're going to need to keep on keeping on because we only have a few more minutes left in the class, and I need to teach you about how to do math inside of Python. So so if you didn't manage to finish this exercise, that's fine. We can come back to it later. I just need to teach you how to do some math inside of Python right now. But first, let's answer a couple questions. Which of the following statements about Python lists is true? So which one is true? A, when printing a list, all items must be printed to the list. B, it's not possible to add items to the list after list creation. C, counting items in the list starts from 0, not 1. Or D, items in a list cannot be changed after they've been added. So let's see. Users C and LL say that the answer is C, that is correct. So counting items in the list starts from 0, not 1. And we've got another question. Which of the following code will add a string item, apple, to a list named fruits? So which one of these commands is going to add apple to the fruits list? Is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, we've got a couple of answers here. Users C and LL say that it is B, fruits.append apple inside of the parentheses here. That's correct. Okay, so let's do our basic operators. So when we're talking about operators, we're talking about symbols that perform operations. So in programming terms, operators are used to perform an operation on a piece of data. So we've got our basic operating symbols over here. In this lesson, we'll learn about basic arithmetic operators that are used for mathematical addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, and a couple of others. So Python uses the following operators, symbols, for basic arithmetic. So we've got addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and exponentiation. So these might not be the typical symbols you see in your math books. This one and this one are the same, but multiplication is symbolized by this asterisk or star. Division is indicated by the slash over here. And exponentiation, which is something to the second power or the third power, is indicated by these double stars. So the arithmetic operations that occur in Python follow the PEMDAS order of operations. So when I was growing up, we learned the PEMDAS order of operations. In your school system, you might have used something else. But when we talk about PEMDAS, we mean parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And this is the order the operations go in when we're solving a math problem over here. So in summary, all operations enclosed in parentheses are performed first, then all exponent operations are resolved, followed by multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction operations at the end. So given the following equation in Python syntax, first, the division operation inside of the parentheses, 4 divided by 2, is performed. Second, the exponent operation, 2 to the power of 2, which is Python syntax for 2 to the second power, is resolved. Third, the multiplication, 2 times 2, 2 times 4 is resolved. So we do these things in this order. Fourth, the division, 8 divided by 4, is resolved. Fifth, the addition, 2 plus 2, is resolved. Finally, the subtraction is resolved, which sets our final result to 0. So we can actually take this information right here, and we can plug this directly into Python. So if we go over to online Python, and I don't think you can copy any of this. I'm providing the equation in the chat, but you can't copy any of that, unfortunately, because of the Zoom meeting rules. But if you go to online, you can just take a look at this. And if we just print, and then in the print here, we can just put in this math equation. And what it's going to do is it's just going to give us the result of the math equation inside the print. So if we print and then we paste in our math equation and then we click on run, we're going to see the result of the math equation over here, which is 0.0. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. So I'm going to teach you about something you might or might not have learned about yet in your math class, but this is a common operation that we do inside of programming, and it's called the modulo operator. So it looks like a percent sign, and this is what modulo operations look like when you write them out. So a modulo operation is going to return the remainder after one number is divided by another. The resulting number after a modulo operation is called the modulus. So if you've got 5 modulo 2, then the modulus is going to be 1. So 5 divided by 2 is 4, and after that's subtracted, the remainder is 1. But the remainder is all we're interested in when we do modulo operations. So we've got 8 modulo 5, which is basically 8 divided by 5, which is 1 with a remainder of 3, and 3 is what we're looking for here. So a typical use for the modulo operation is to determine whether a number is even or odd by performing a modulo operation on it with the number 2. If the result is 1, then the number is odd, and if the result is 0, then the number is even. So we're going to skip the math operator exercise, and what we're going to do is we're going to finish off today's lesson by doing an exercise over at we're going to do an exercise over at picoctf, because we love doing picoctf. If you don't love doing picoctf, let us know in the chat, and we'll do less picoctf in the future. But please log into your picoctf, and after you've logged into picoctf, click on the practice button over here after you've logged in, and then let's open up our web shell. So click on the web shell button over here after you've gone to the practice page, and make your web shell big by clicking on this button over here called Pop Out Web Shell Terminal. So if you've managed to activate your web shell and make it nice and big over here, please type in the chat. Because we love picoctf is going to be a famous quote someday. Maybe. But if you manage to activate your web shell over here, please type in the chat, web shell up. Okay, so I want you to clear off the screen so it gives you so it doesn't time you out. And what we're going to do is we're going to be doing the following exercise, which is the fixme1.py exercise over here. Okay, so please navigate to this page after your web shell is up. And this is the fixme1.py exercise. So the exercise says, fix the syntax error in this Python script to print the flag. So we need to download the Python script and we need to run the Python script. So this link over here is for the Python script. You need to right-click it and then select copy link and then go over to your web shell, and it ended my session. I need to press enter to reconnect. So enter or return. If for some reason it says starting web shell session, but it seems to get stuck, I want you to reload the page. And it should, after a while, it should get unstuck. Okay, it doesn't feel like doing it. Okay, so I'm going to close out my web shell and I'm going to go back and I'm going to start up the web shell again. So you might need to do this as well. So if for some reason your web shell starts not responding, you need to close the web shell and start it back up again. Okay, so after that, we're going to create a directory to work inside of. So I see here, this is from another session. I'm going to make a directory called fixme1 with the mkdir command like this. And then we're going to enter the directory, fixme1, and then we're going to download. So if anybody remembers, we use the wget command to download files. So just wget, type wget and then space, and then paste in the file address that you just copied, and then hit enter to download the file. Okay. After that, you're going to see the fixme1.py file in here. If you've managed to get to this point, please type in the chat, I DL'd the file. I don't know why I said that. Anyways. All right, so we've got the fixme1.py file over here, and what we need to do is we need to run it. Does anybody remember which command we use to run Python files inside of the console here? We have to use a specific command. It is the Python command. So we just type Python and then space and then the name of the file that we want to run. So it's going to be fixme1.py. So Python space fixme1.py. So hit enter, and it's going to say, that's correct, here's your flag, and it says unexpected indent. So the problem here is that this line is indented and it shouldn't be. So what we need to do is we need to correct this. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the nano command to start editing the file. So nano fixme1.py, and then this is the Python file. So the error told us that the print command had a problem. So can anybody identify what the problem is with this print command? If you know what the problem is, please type in the chat. Otherwise, I'll be talking about it in just a little bit. So user LL says it shouldn't have a slash. But that actually isn't the problem in this case. This slash over here is a way that you get around using single quotes and then adding more single quotes to your string. Use a backslash over here, and then you tell the program that this is not a regular backslash, but just part of the string. So the problem here is that there's a space. So because Python uses space to indicate what is it called? Code blocks. So this is a code block over here because it has a bunch of space. So this is another code block because it has more space. So we have to make sure that there are no spaces here. So we just need to get rid of the spaces, and then we're good to go. So all we need to do after we've removed the spaces is to exit. So it's going to be Control X to exit. It's going to ask us if we want to save. Press Y for yes, and then hit enter. And then from there, all we need to do is run the Python again. So Python fixme1.py, and it says that is correct. Here's your flag, and this is the flag. All right. So what did we learn in that exercise? We learned that we learned that we need to make sure that everything is indented properly or not indented properly in order to avoid having errors happen in our code. So all we need to do is just copy the flag over here and then go over to your Python challenge page. This is fixme1. Paste in the flag. So you can either use Control V, the keyboard shortcut, or you can do right click and paste. Click on submit flag, and you should be finished. All right, so if you managed to finish the challenge, please let us know in the chat. Type I fixed it. Smiley face. Okay, great to see, great to see. All right, so let's do a little summary of what we learned in today's lesson, and then we'll finish the class. Over here. So we learned about lists, which are variables with one or more items associated with them. Items in the list can be referenced by a process called list indexing. And the other thing we learned about in this workshop is Python basic operators, which can be used to perform arithmetic operations. So in the next Hacker Frog's After School Programming Workshop, we're going to continue learning Python with the learnpython.org website. What we're going to be learning about is string formatting, which is basically making your strings nice and pretty. We're going to be learning some string methods, and we're going to be learning about string splicing. So stay tuned for that, and we're going to be coming back on, let's see, today is Wednesday. It's going to be Friday. So that's going to be the Friday class at the same time. At this point, we're going to finish off the class for Zoom, but to everybody on the live stream, we're going to be taking a little break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Stay tuned.